Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to StrangeCast Player 1 vs. Was Life is Strange fan podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Adnan. My co-host Adam is here. Adam, you here?
I am a second co-host here on the show, and I do bark back in the comments.
You do bark back. The eagle barks back. He doesn't make talon noises. He barks. That's what kind of
talon noises.
What do birds make then? Squawking noises.
Squawks or like caws. Like talon noises are like the little fingernails. They go.
Yeah, well, you bark though. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
So, I need so my trademark now, at least for the podcast, especially Lost Records Journal, is I'm going to throw you in the abyss if you don't like the video. We need an equivalent for StrangeCast, and I need something Life is Strange based. So it might be a double exposure. I'm going to try and work it out whilst we record this as well. There needs to be some kind of reference here. It might be like I'll imprint myself onto like double exposure style Safi, or I'll write you a really bad plot. I don't know. I need to figure something out. But anyway, we are back actually because StrangeCast has been delayed this episode because obviously Lost Records Tape 1 came out, which you should go and buy and you should go and play. And we did back-to-back Lost Records Journal episodes, so StrangeCast is now back. And if anything as well, we will be more spoiler-free on these episodes about Lost Records. We will warn you if we do go into higher story spoilers specifically, but this podcast is more or less free from them. It will still include Lost Records content in here, but it's not as dedicated to it as Lost Records Journal is, which will be completely spoiler filled. So that is your FY and a bit of a warning. But before we start, if you are new here, please do subscribe, turn notifications, like the video, share with your friends. If you do not like this video, I'm gonna beat you down like Warren beats down Nathan. That's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen to you. I'm gonna kick you repeatedly. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. So you better like the video.
I mean,
Adam's gonna come and squawk. He's gonna like squawk on you. He's gonna start barking at you. He's gonna become everything. He's gonna become like a Resident Evil monster. That's what's gonna happen. So
doing okay
like the video. Yeah, it's not as clean. The Abyss one's easier, man. The reference is so much easier. But yes, welcome back. Please do support the channel. We've just crossed 1,600 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. And also as well, StrangeCast available on all podcast services, so you can find us on Spotify with a video version, Apple Podcast. We're on there. We have 295 followers on Spotify now, so help us get to 300. We're about 40 free ratings, I believe it is, at 4.8 ratings. So please do like us and share because you boost us out to other people, and you also get your episodes as soon as they become available. And obviously, as we said, the Lost Records Journal is now rolling as it is. It's kicking into high gear, so go and follow that podcast. It has over 80 followers now. It has 19 ratings or so with 4.9 ratings, so thank you so much for that. So you can get more access to your content there and then when it happens. So obviously you might notice, because this is very similar to the last episode, Adam, and I talked to your podcast with, this is going to be a two-part episode, right? So in itself, just to kind of give you reasons for it. One, my schedule is absolutely heavingly busy, and I'm going to split this into two parts. So hopefully we're recording the 1st of March. You'll get this on the first Monday and the Wednesday of that week. So stay tuned to the channel. So you have two-part podcast. It's easier for me to split apart because of how heavy my schedule is at the moment. And it'll just make my life a little bit easier. Secondly, and more so as well, we're catching up on a lot of news. So there's been a lot of news, and I don't want to leave it behind because I think there's some conversations to be had here as well. So we're splitting this part. This will be more Life is Strange and Lost Records heavy as well in certain respects. The other part is definitely more Don't Nod oriented as well, because there's a lot of stuff that happened with the reorganization project and stuff that we need to talk about. So do stay tuned for that. So if you do wonder if something's been missed, it's more but less going to be that next part of the conversation. So yeah, we're going to focus on here. So Adam, should we kick things off here as well as we get the ball rolling on our podcast episode, the first part at least? So Adam, we're going to go onto, oh God, I was going to share that myself. We're going to share the screen as well, and we'll keep you up into the loop as well if you are an audio listener. So we are on screen share. And first off, obviously, is the Lost Records news, because Lost Records Bloom and Rage is now available as well. It released last month. We're in March now. It released last month in February. Tape 1 was out. And as you can see, they posted here as well, which is I don't know, posted a trailer. The launch trailer came out, and then obviously the big news there as well was that Deck 9 had responded to their post and says, congratulations, we're excited to play. And then Don't Know responded saying thank you so much as well to them. It's a little bit of love and affection there. And obviously you see Michelle there, the gaffer, Michelle Koch, who's the Life is Strange co-creator, Don't Know Montreal studio creative director, Lost Records Bloom and Rage director, says there, thank you so much. Can't wait to hear your thoughts about your time with this game.
Can we take note on the Ambitineers? tweet, the reply on the bottom there. It says also take notes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's
Love that.
it's very subtle, isn't it? Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
So yeah,
take notes.
I think that is our first part. So Adam, as well, I think we're going to combine this into like a little bit of a section of news, which includes the launch trailer discussion in itself about Lost Records, because obviously the game is out. We're excited about it. We've both played it as well. This will try and remain spoiler free as well, this section as well, so you don't have to worry about that. I strongly encourage you buy it and play it because it's a fantastic game from an independent developer. Obviously, it's nice to see Deck 9 acknowledge Don't Nod, as they would anyway, because they're a studio. There were tribalism responses in there, which I'm like, I don't take part in the tribalism thing. That's your provocative to do. It's not for me. I just enjoy playing games from both studios, and I, even if I don't like some of them and I'd like some of them, I can still appreciate a little bit kind of like camaraderie between the two sides. But I did want to ask you as well, did you watch the launch trailer for this game as well? Because I went back and watched it, and obviously Don't Know Montreal's senior brand manager Marin has been working pretty much on all of those trailers that we've seen since the Game Awards reveal back in 2023, and the man cooks with making trailers as well, because I love a fine trailer as well, because we talked about Kojima making them as well.
I watched it. That's why I was like inquisitive with my look. I'm like, what, did I miss something in the trailer? I did like it.
No.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give a bit of shout out to the trailer.
Okay, yeah. I'm so bad at picking up Easter eggs in anything. Like I'm not that kind of learner where I'm like, oh, I will see something and I would just like take it at face value. I'm like, yeah, totally. But Easter eggs, I'm not so good at.
No, I'm currently digging through Easter eggs in in Lost Records at the moment. There's quite a lot of them, to be honest. And there's lots.
I did send you the reason why this game was rated M.
Did you?
With the squirrels, the video.
Oh,
there are some squirrels. You can find them in
opportunity.
Yeah, the recording opportunity. I'm just like, I'm going behind the sign, and I'm like, oh. Well, look at that.
Oh,
yeah.
It's truly the wilderness. Velvet Cove is alive.
The wilderness, rated M. Rated M for mature.
Yeah, it's good to see Deck 9 and Don't Not have the acknowledgement for one another, as I expected it to be as well. Also, take notes is a very fair point to be made, considering, but also as well, we do need to, again, factor in that a publisher working on another IP, so that is something that also take notes doesn't help in that situation. But yeah, generally speaking, enjoyed it. Also, Marin, thank you. Been listening to this song a lot, which is the Shake, Shook and Shaken album, Sparks, as you can see there. That you can see on the screen.
Hey.
Which will probably be in my my Apple Music Wrapped, or whatever the equivalent is, by the end of the year. Apple Music Replay, that's one. Because it is in the launch trailer, and it's very good. I just generally, I appreciate a good launch trailer. I've always been a sucker for him. I love Kojima, the way that he does it, even when we talked about when you said, like, he's just sat at his computer desk doing it rather than...
Yeah, he's just at the desk. He's not in, like, an editing software studio. He's just at his desk.
It's where the magic's made, man. It's where the trailer is always the selling point. And I'll put out there as well, the man hasn't made a single bad trailer for this game so far, in any way, shape, or form. The Game Awards trailer, the Lo-Fi trailer, the Gamescom trailer, the Abyss trailer, the launch trailer, I think there's about 5 of them now, have all been like stellar, like trailers, all great. So I wanted to give him a shout out on that. Yeah. Okay, we've got anything else to add before we move into our next piece?
I don't think so. No.
That's fair. Right, Adam, this is going to be the big one for a conversation. This is probably why we split this as well, because this is an elephant in the room that can't be gone unnoticed. So back on screen share, in one of the more surprising twists of all time. Did you expect this? Was this on your bingo card for 2025?
That Life is Strange the Twitter account takes fan art and then puts it at their own plug, kind of like Barstool Sports takes other videos and makes it their own content. No, I'm not shocked by that.
I like that comparison. That is a comparison to be made with that. Ooh. Yes. As you can see, I believe this was posted on all their social feeds, but this was a big topic in itself, which was that Life is Strange Twitter page here has put congratulations on the launch, Don't Nod on Lost Records. And as you can see there, Maxine Caulfield on Max and Swann Holloway there in a nice little artwork piece together. And as you can see there, Luke Bargados, who's studio executive producer at Donald Montreal and also executive producer on Lost Records, put response there saying, "So cool, love you folks." Lost Records' page replied saying, with a hearts emojis. Edward Kaplan, the genius himself, so put "So cool, Max and Swann," and such a sweet drawing as always. And then we're going on to Frederica there, who's the managing director at Donald Montreal with a heart emoji. And we come up here as well, where it's Michelle as well. It says, "Thank you so much. I think in an alternative universe, they would definitely be friends."
I can see that because, both are coming from the same creator, so same kind of creative mindset. I think they would.
We will come into that in a second because I think that's a conversation itself. But as you can see as well, that Luke was on Blue Sky as well, which you can find him more camped on. And he's put, "Look what official Life is Strange account posted," which is quite nice. And then I think Desiree is there, who's one of the writers on on Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, one of the American writers who came on that. So Adam, first of all, the tweets, if anything, as well. Are you going to say it or should I say it?
I don't know what I've already said. I already said 2 insults to this tweet, so I don't know what else to say.
Well, I will add the other one because I think people want to hear this, and we give you the real opinions here. That's why I feel like you come here and enjoy this podcast as well. Mm-hmm. It's nice to acknowledge them and to give them credit and to kind of help support their game as well. Yeah. It's also utter rank hypocrisy as well to put that post out there, just to kind of like say it as it is. Because for Michelle and Luke, and I don't speak for them, I will never speak for them. Obviously, they'll love having that kind of embrace from Life is Strange. It's a big part of their heritage. It's a big part of their, the work that they've done. And they'll take that as an acknowledgement. And as an independent developer, when Life is Strange's Twitter account has 1.8 million followers, you do want them to post stuff as well, which will kind of like, help promote your game as well. But also as well, like let's not forget this as well. The reason their game has come out in February 2025 is because Life is Strange Double Exposure dropped smack bang in the window that they were about to put it out in, right? And now I'm not going to be one of those like conspiracy people because I don't want to get sued or anything like that. But you did put it in that window, yeah, and it made their game move across, right? If anything, and for me, what's the worst part about this, and it's just my feeling at least as well, is that if you really wanted to show where it's like, actually, we're going to give a lot of goodwill here, you would have used Max Caulfield from Life is Strange 1 rather than the DE Max, because it is a completely different Max. And that's a conversation that will come into the next part of this topic with Michelle's take as well on that. But I'm just going to put it out there, right? I liked it. I love the fan art. It's nice. I always love seeing a nice fan art. Can't complain with that. But I will be the person that says it because other people won't, because I don't have to worry about my press influencer kits or whatever else of it. It is hypocrisy. And it's the same with what you said as well, that those 2 little digs that you threw earlier. I'm like, okay, like you still need to like, it's like, for example, if I was gonna get married and then you stole my wife to be, right? And then it's like, and then I get married 5 years down the line, and you send me a message saying congratulations. I'm like, cheers, Adam. I'm in this position getting remarried now because you stole my wife in the first place. But I appreciate you sending that message. It's basically on that level. I'm not taking it for face value.
It would be okay. I'll give it to your language, right? It would be like when Death Stranding releases, Konami or. Konami, am I right? Yeah, Konami is sending like a high five with Solid Snake and shoot, what is the main character? With Sam? Thank you. Just high fiving each other. It's like, congratulations on Death Stranding 2. Thanks. And then, do you think Kojima will be in the comments being like, "Oh wow, I love this"?
And do you know what as well? Let me add on to that later as well. It would be Konami doing that with the fan art, but then also it's Metal Gear Solid 3 remake Snake rather than the original Snake. That's where this kind of like that comparison just like, it's like, oh, and as you said as well, Kojima would be like there on his trailer making. It's like, I ain't looking at that. He's gonna be like,
exactly, just like doing his own thing. I'm not saying, because again, I almost envy Michelle Coe's attitude towards life, just very peaceful, very much just like taking the higher ground. I am on the low ground, dude. Like, if this was episode 3 of Star Wars, I would be on Anakin, and Michelle Coe will be on the like, "It's over, Adam. I have the high ground, both figuratively and literally. And I'm like, you can't stop me from being angry on the internet, Michelle Co. But
Yeah.
no, like that would straight up be my reaction. It'll be just kind of like, oh, that's nice. That's great. Then just move on with my day.
It would be that, like, and I get it from there as well. Like, you don't want to burn bridges and do anything like that.
Sure.
But I'm just going to call it for what it is as well, because it is like we're here because of what
Because
you
of
guys did.
you. Yeah.
Choices have consequences, as I've been famously taught before as well. I.e., why we're here as it is. So it's like I'm not going to take it. For me, when I was looking at it, I was like, and when I saw D Max, I was like, oh boy. I was like, you could have won a lot of people over just using Max from Life is Strange 1 and then be like, let's go from that. If anything, should we just roll this into our next part of our conversation, which is it was part of this topic.
Certainly.
It was about, I'll pull it up here for you now as well, because it was an extension of what you said about Michelle before, and it kind of made it onto Reddit as well. Adam, as you can see here,
I can see.
Look at that. Looks similar. I know
Yeah.
that. So someone brought up saying, do you think Max Caulfield and Swann Holloway could be friends? And there's our graphic, which has Michelle's post in there. I obviously call out the fan art because I ain't stealing other people's work. But if anything as well, as you can see there, it says source, and it says, for those who don't know, Swann Holloway is the main playable character in the new story narrative game. Lost Records Boom Rage is developed by the same Don't Know team led by Michelle Co. that made Life is Strange 1 and 2.
And look at the source. What did they source?
Indeed.
Play One versus the World.
We love that. We love to see that. So there's a lot of interesting reception here. Obviously, like this question is kind of like strange to ask when the creator's playing it there. He's kind of answered that question for us. But there were some interesting takes that people put in here as well. And I agree with like a lot of elements of this conversation that are happening. I won't scroll down too much, not to reveal my identity on the Reddit, because I was ironically involved in there. Put a couple of takes out there, and some people did not like what I put out there. My conversation was to you because I don't think necessarily it's a conversation about Max and Swann being friends, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that's a given, because in itself, it feels like, if you have that kind of like that other side, if you went to an alternative universe and met the other Adam Evalt, i.e. like, Falcon from Game Ranks, you're both going to be very similar, right? So they're equally similar. But the big question I want to ask you, and I'm very interested to hear what your perspective is on this, and the build-up's huge for this. Would Max Caulfield DE double exposure be friends with Swann Holloway? Because that graphic, obviously, the artwork was DE Max and Swann Holloway. And considering how much we've kicked that game, rightfully so in my respect, I'm not going to back off it. If you enjoyed that game, fantastic. I still hope you come to the podcast. But considering how DE Max is written and how it's done, would that still work, or does it have to specifically be Max Caulfield from the first Life is Strange and Swann Holloway?
More specifically, it would have to be the Life is Strange. It has to be the Michelle Co. Let's put it that way. It has to be the Michelle Co. Let's stop saying DE and the original trilogy, right? Is it the Michelle Co. Max Caulfield, or is it the stouter Max Caulfield, right? Is it going to be Deck 9 or Donut? And it has to be the Michelle Co. version of Max Caulfield. Absolutely. Just because, again, it's coming from the same design as Michelle Co. And Michelle Co. has also written these characters in his perspective, in his mind. So I like to think that Michelle is, okay with who he is, right? Like all of his mentality is okay with each other. He's at peace with himself. So, of course, his characters that come from his mind are going to be at peace with each other. So, yeah, absolutely. Do I think that Swann would be friends with the stouter Max Caulfield? That's a different conversation, because I think the stouter Max Caulfield is a little bit too... She's a bit much. You know what I mean? Like, she's not as awkward. She's not as... she's not as introverted, right? I was interacting with a commenter in the review episode of Lost Records where the person said, as an introvert, this really does, Swann really does pick the perspective of an introvert. And I just said, as one who is married to an introvert, like, this is absolutely like awkwardness. They call it cringe, but like that's an introvert. They are trying their best to just not try to be cool, but just try to like, hey, how do I fit in this puzzle? Whereas Max in Stouter's version is trying to be cool rather than trying to fit in, just trying to be cool. So yeah, I think it has more specifically to do with which version, and I think it's the Michel Co versions, in my opinion. I don't speak for Michel because I'm too much rage. He is too much bloom. I am too much rage to be speaking for him. But yeah, no, that's my thoughts.
That's a fair, rational take with it, because like it would be like, for example, would a Deck Nine's version of Swann Holloway be friends with like Life is Strange 1's Max, for example? They're too different, man. The studios are too different. Their writing styles are too different. Their approaches are different. Like that in general interpretation of Max and DE, I just can't agree. I just don't agree with it. It lost all philosophical foundation. We debated this obviously in the last episode with the Stouder conversation when he was trying to put the defense up for Max. And it's like, no, you read it wrong for me. You really did. Because it's like, you've lost all elements of what the character used to be. And it's like to compare adult Max to young Swann makes no sense, because that's like comparing what we believe adult Swann is at the moment to young Max, for example. So the age ranges are completely different at that point. So it doesn't make any sense to me at that point, in any way, shape, or form. The only other argument I would make, for example, is yes, I agree with, for example, that Michel's Max, obviously, and the Don't Nod team's Max, if anything, would be very good friends with Swann Holloway. It feels that way as it is. But I would also make the argument, and I did in that Reddit thread, that Emma Vicelli's Max would be good friends with Swann Holloway, because Emma Vicelli's Max, which is only, within that time frame, like not aged dramatically compared to the first Life is Strange, that's the true representation for me of Max in terms of someone who got older and accepted it. If you ever read Emma's comics and the way she writes Max very, very similar in certain respects, because for her, the foundational work is the first Don't Nod game. That's the game that got her in love with Life is Strange, and she understands what she's working with. So the source material is the most important. And I would argue, if anyone saying that Max from the comics isn't representative of Max in the game, I would completely disagree, because again, I know stylistically and thematically they're different creators behind both of them, different writers, different foundations, but it's a very close representation of what Max is in the game as well. That Max, I would argue her comic character is even closer to Max in this game. So that's where I stand. I just can't. DE is a game I'm going to revisit this year. How that goes, I don't know. I was even thinking at one point, being like, I might get Adam to play it so we do a re-review of the game a year on, see if we actually feel different with it. And more so because of how Lost Records has come out. Because obviously we've been talking about Lost Records a lot. I still think about that game. I think about it now, even when I'm not even playing it. And I just sit there thinking, like, I kept going back and being like, I want to give it an open-minded opinion. I want to be really honest with it and stuff and try to like it. But generally speaking, even when you go on the Reddit threads and stuff, I would 100% argue the majority of people did not like that game. Like, majority of the people did not like that game. There was a small minority of people who like double exposure. And you're fine to like that as well. I'm not going to tell you not to like something. I don't like certain things which would be controversial for other people. But the issues in that game are just beyond Chloe. And we've done this time and time again on the podcast, kicked a dead horse, had the conversation. And it's not just Chloe, it's Max, because Max doesn't feel anything like her. So it's like when Michelle's making that tweet, it's like, yeah, they would be friends. All I'm thinking is, yeah, your Max would be friends with Swann. And even Emma's Max would be friends with Swann as well, because they're still thematically Max. This Max, as you said, is like the one trying to be popular. And it's like, completely loses the element of being an introvert, because like you see it with Swann in the game, in Lost Records, in the surface level, and not trying to spoil anything. You see, she tries to not be an introvert, but she's forever dragged back to be an introvert. And as you said, like, you know it, man. I know it's an introvert. I'm like, should I say something to that person? I'm like, no, I can't do it. And it's like you feel like Swann deep in your soul. And Max doesn't do that in Double Exposure.
I mean, I don't. I'm extroverted, so I don't know what she's going through.
That's why the chaos happens on the podcast as well. We have chaos and mayhem on the podcast.
But like again, like my wife is very much introverted, so I see it. Like I see it all the time. Like, oh, should I say something? Will I come off too aggressively? Like it's just like all the thoughts like enter in their heads, like, and they just kind of like go into their shell. So like I see it all the time. But yeah.
It's a shame that it's ended though. Like, 2025 is going to be a reflection year because, like, in itself as well, for the month we're recording, StrangeCast will turn 4 years old, and Lost Records Journal will turn 1 year old. We got like hopefully episodes that we got planned to just kind of have a general conversation, reflection, and things. But like, it's just a shame that Adult Max now is in the current state that it is in, because I've seen very few people agree what Adult Max represents compared to the wider conversation, and it's, for me, it's just a shame that I can't make a comparison with that, because when I saw that post from Life is Strange, I was like, I'm not buying it, man. I'm going to tweet it, but I'm not sitting here being like, it's nice to see these collaborators, like, agree with things and da da da. There's a lot of internal politics that happen in the gaming industry and external politics. I imagine for Don't it's great to see like support from Life is Strange, because like Life is Strange, in its credit, for example, Square Enix, they didn't have to tweet any of that stuff or post any of that stuff. They could have just disregarded Don't completely. So I will give flowers to Square Enix in that at least you gave support to the independent studio now and said, oh, actually, if you do like Life is Strange, you should go and play it, even if it's at their own detriment potentially. But yeah, I'm not having that smoke, man. This is just, there's too much of it, and I just didn't like the fact that they used DE Max. I'm like, there's just something there that like really irked me as well. I was like, no, it's just too thingy. And Deck 9 is fine as it is. Like, Deck 9 is in a period of soul searching for me, and rightfully so in a period of soul searching as well, because they need that. But yeah, I put my comment in there in that thread, and that Reddit one. It got a couple of up likes as well. Got a couple of people rattled as well. Some people did not agree with what I was saying, but like, as you will. DE flopped though. Like, it flopped big time compared to the rest of the stuff. Anyway, Adam, should we move into our next topic, because we're coming towards the end of this first part, if anything, and I feel like we should talk about these couple of pieces here. So, Adam, as you can see, now this is good stuff from Deck 9 when it's like this. And it's a shame that this game has ended in the state it has, because these things would be nice. This is like, reminds me of like True Colors, stuff that started coming out afterwards. All the stuff with like the stuff on set with Erica and like Han and Katie, and it was like really like enjoyable things and people enjoyed it. And it's like with this game though, because of the reception, it's quite divisive. As you can see there, they got Deck 9 has put there, says Moses hypothermia. We're going down the vault and came across this beauty in our behind the scenes folders. Honestly, we might be better than the original photo, which is a selfie, but Safi is like, ugh. I'm not going to open the replies up because you can imagine what they're going to be. I will open this one up, Adam, then, because this will be a conversation for us to have as well, which is there. And this user, MB, Pure Masker 89, says, just finished the latest Life is Strange, and all I can say is, when is the next one coming out? Lol. And Deck 9 responded with some eye emojis there.
Yeah.
I can hear a bit of it.
Yeah.
Mindset before we move on to the next part.
Where? Like, again, I'm not trying to say like Deck 9 is a small team, but they're not a big team either. Like, who's making it? Like, if the whole eye emojis, you just axed the entirety of like the heads of, like, they've had 3 layoffs within the span of a year. Am I correct? Like, not just like 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years for 3 layoffs, because like last year was 2. There was one at the beginning of the year, one at the end of it, and then there was one in 20. Let's just do 3 in the layoff scheme, like in 2 years. Let's use that as a better metric.
Yeah, so like 3 layoffs in the course of 2 years, and one of those layoffs being you just axed the entirety of the heads of Double Exposure. It's just kind of like my time. My thought on this is just what team? Because me and you know of the teams that are within Deck 9, and me and you both can kind of give our guesses of who is not in charge of the next Life is Strange. So like, I don't want to speak for anybody. I don't want to tell people like what we know, but it's kind of like with the whole eyes, like, it could be sooner than you think. Who, where, how? Like, nothing's rattling my brain of just like, yeah, there's a Life is Strange game. There could be, but it could be like, it could be like half, not even like, it could be in pre-production, like before they axed the entire team, and then they had to send it off to another team. I don't know, man. Like, I don't think I don't think it's coming as soon as they're trying to do with the stupid eye emojis. I'm not trying to say stupid, man. I'm not trying to say, because there are great people in Deck 9. Like we love people at Deck 9. It's just more of me becoming the eagle, the barking eagle. But it's just kind of like, where, man? Where? I don't get it.
Yeah, I still need to work out the timescale of where they're at with things as well. That's my mission in life. Time. But you're right though, because like the studio has been wrecked in certain respects from a lot of different people who have been there, who've worked there, who've come and gone. There's still some great people at Deck 9. I will believe that. I will always champion that as well. And individually beyond how the studio's handled Life is Strange, I still think there's a lot of talent in there. I.e., when people always question stuff about Deck 9, I always say go and play The Expanse, because I think it's probably Deck 9's greatest piece of work that they've done in terms of, not outside of the sales metrics, but direction, writing, performance, etc. It's all fantastic. But you're right though as well, because probably for them as well, I don't think they should have really responded with the eye emojis, because I don't think it achieves anything for the time being, considering the current state of the climate of the industry and where they are at the studio as well.
Yeah, the state of the industry is definitely a good point there. It's like, where, who, how? Like, I don't know. I don't think. No, there's no way.
It's just with Deck 9 as well. There's a lot, as I said before, there's a lot of soul searching that needs to happen now, because like the people they laid off as well, like the reflection of Stauder, Quan, all these people going from higher up positions was reflected that this project failed to hit the mark, and it did. It failed to hit the mark completely. I feel for people. I need to always feel like he needs to do this. I feel for people who lose their jobs, but ultimately,
absolutely.
Heads rolled, because heads rolled for a reason, because the game underperformed and it undersold, and that is down to creative control and also other caveats as well.
Because Mallory Littleton also got laid off, right?
Oh, well, no. So, yes, my good friend Mallory Littleton. Mallory was one of the people that quote unquote fell on their fell on their sword. Yeah,
fell on their sword. So, like, I mean, again, I want to put this in perspective with people. They don't have Mallory Littleton. They don't have Elizabeth Bilal. They don't have Chris Stauder.
John Stauder.
John Stauder. They don't have. Stauder. Yeah, they don't have Quan. They don't have. They don't have. There's another big one that dropped out, and I'm just like, I can't remember. I know. What's that?
Aisha Farah?
Yeah, Aisha Farah. Did she get laid off?
Yeah, she was one of the writers. Anyone in the creative positions were all laid off.
Any creative.
And this was back from the layoffs up to now.
They don't have Zach Garris anymore. They don't like they have a skeleton crew at this point. I'm not trying to say a skeleton crew in terms of Deck 9. In terms of the Life is Strange team. They have a skeleton crew. So that's kind of frustrating to hear about. Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. This is a better way of putting it. Deck 9 can find more soul without those people being in creative positions as well, and restructure and reformat. Let's put it that way. It's a better way of putting it. I didn't mean deserved. I meant in the sense that it deserves better as a studio. That's a better way of putting it. It deserves better in terms of the quality of writing, in terms of the hitting marks on certain things. A lot of those people, maybe barring one or two, if that, deserved to be moved on from what they're doing. Like in terms of the studio moves forward, they move on from that. So let me rephrase that before someone jumps on it.
Unless there's a third team that I'm not thinking about right now, I don't think that there's going to be a Life is Strange game anytime soon. Like if a Life is Strange comes out in 2026, I'll eat a sock, dude. Like I'll eat a sock if it comes out anytime in 2026.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything because something tells me people should like not make projections for the time being. I will say one thing though. There's only one saving grace they have at the moment. One real saving grace in terms of, as you said, they've lost all those creative people in those roles, and it's Jonathan Zimmerman in there. He is the only person.
Oh yeah.
He is if Deck 9 and Square Enix need to put all their stock in that man now, because at the moment they left Webb out to do performance direction, and that was for me in a dumb decision of like, even if he is a very talented performance director, that was just dumb to put him out towards performance direction because he should have been working internally. You had Chris Floyd and Webb Pickers Guild.
That's the other thing. They don't have Chris Floyd anymore. Like, you're just reminding me of all the assets they don't have anymore.
Exactly, but that's the problem, though. As it
I mean, they
stems
have,
on,
like you said, they have Zimmerman, they have Webb, like they have some talents, but they're not utilizing them.
No,
Like it's
but
insane.
that's the issue with Deck Nine, though. The way the structure is and the way that they're doing things, they're putting people off in like really weird positions, and it's like these people should naturally be working in a higher position. So it's like Webb should never have left the game development part of that in terms of the way that they're doing whatever they've done in the way that they processed it, and he should have always stayed there. And it's like with Jonathan Zimmerman, who has worked on The Expanse, who has a history of Life is Strange. He's the only person there, and we talked about this in one of the previous videos. The only person that should be at the helm of the next Life is Strange game. The only person. I would immediately put him in the game director's chair. If there's any hope that Deck 9 and Square Enix have to save the series and save the direction and the fan base as well, I would 100% put that man in there. I've only ever heard good things about him. That's what I would say as well. I've only ever heard good things about Jonathan Zimmerman. I think it's a testament to what he is as well as a person. So it's like, I wouldn't put my stock value, i.e., for example, in Bilal, in Littleton and stuff. You've seen my own interactions with them in the past. I put more stock in the people I know and who I've heard of and people who have vouched for. I've heard people vouch for Zimmerman as well, saying that he's a very, very talented writer and a very, very like meticulously like works on certain in his craft. He loves what he does, and it's like that's great because it's like the only other options as well. For example, Frost, but I just don't. If Frost is there,
I don't think the Expanse team is on this.
I will eat my sock. Like you will. If Stefan Frost appears as a game director, I will eat my sock because that's how much I'm convinced he can't. It's not he can't do it. It's just that it's not his thing. And that for me makes no reason to put him on the project when it's not his thing. And Frost, as I've said before, is the future of Deck 9. They would be stupid to ever make a decision on letting him leave. I would drag him back in if I was Deck 9. Like he's gonna leave, I'd be like, get in here, Frost, and like dragging him back in like Tor style. That's what I'd be doing. And the only other person who I'd be looking at in Deck 9 that I know of right now would be Iris Stouterman, but Iris has only worked on The Expanse and was a big Expanse fan. I don't know if Iris is a Life is Strange fan, for example, and I just think she would be a really fresh breath of air for the series potentially. But
they're rebuilding at this point. Like that's the thing. It's like they are rebuilding. Like again, even if they went into pre-production, like or even like full on production. Right when Double Exposure went out, like when it was shipped, they cut the entire team and now they have to rebuild an entire team. It like again, look at the development time for Lost Records, right? So they built the studio in Montreal and they zoomed it, dude. Like that was the fastest game development. Like you opened a new studio and then shipped out a game in almost record time, 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah. To open a studio and ship a game in 4 years, like that's record time, Now we're not talking about like the 80s and 90s of how like, you would put out a game in a month. Like this is the modern day gaming. But in terms of like what they did, I don't see a Life is Strange coming out in this year or even the first half of next year. Like if it comes out
this year, it's a red flag.
If a Life is Strange comes out this year, red flags. I don't know who developed it or whatever, but I don't know.
I'm just going to say it because we'll move on to our next topic and then we'll wrap up this first part. The saving grace of this franchise lies with Jonathan Zimmerman now. And to give him the keys to the kingdom and wherever they're in development phase or wherever they are, because you can't really hide it because you've literally ended the game with Max Caulfield will return. That's like me saying Adam Evalt will return. Next episode starts and Adam isn't here. And you're like, hang on a minute, what?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's like the kind of like you've shot yourself in the foot in certain respects with that. But ultimately, Jonathan Zimmerman is the keys to this franchise for saving it. How you define saving, that's a different conversation itself, where it's at, if it can ever win people back. The damage might be irreparable. I think it's irreparable on a lot of people right now, but I still think people will gravitate towards it because it's still Life is Strange. He's the only person that naturally does it. And when you said before the Expanse team is a thingy, I would 100% yank that entire Expanse team if I had the opportunity to and put them on the Life is Strange project because they're the only other studio which has delivered a quality title. Doesn't matter about the sales. Give them the IP where the franchise is already popular and has a publisher with it. They'll do great work with it. very talented people that worked on the Expanse. That's why I don't dog on Deck 9, because I know people, individual people. I'm like, you're great, you're great, you're great. And other people who left, I was like, yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I've never really heard good things about you. So it's like, I'm glad that you've gone that way. So it's like, generally speaking, there's still people there that can carry the studio on. How it goes, I don't know. But yeah, in terms of the conversation, there's a lot to be said. But Adam, should we quickly wrap up this last part of the Deck 9 stories
Definitely.
here as it is? Because this one is one where we flag with people as well. And it says, someone put here saying they made this little Life is Strange crossover Dead by Daylight thing. And it's just like teasing this kind of idea. And they tagged all the different developers, Behavior, Square Enix. And it's put, I've been a fan of your games for many years, and I would be thrilled to see you collaborate on bringing Life is Strange franchise into the world of Dead by Daylight. I believe many would share the sentiment. And Deck 9 responded, we unfortunately don't make those decisions, but it will be a fun crossover. No, I would never want to see that crossover, because that makes absolutely zero sense. I was like, when people were doing the Fortnite thing with Max, I'm like,
genuine question. Does anybody like Dead by Daylight? They still play that?
Oh yeah. Massively
Really?
popular. Yes. Have you seen like 1,000 updates it had, and all the horror characters that have come into it and stuff?
I know
Massive Dead by Daylight.
that's the other thing. Like, they wouldn't be updating it like that if it wasn't a player count. I'm not trying to say that, like, nobody plays it because I don't know anybody, but it's more like I don't know a single person that plays Dead by Daylight. I'm not trying to say that's like official numbers, but like I know a lot of people, and I haven't met a single person that plays Dead by Daylight. It's just it's shocking to me that like it still has all these updates. Yeah,
but Adam, that's like me with Xbox. There's like hundreds of people play it, and the only people I know who own Xbox is you and Yellow Flash Hawkage, and one other person that pops up in the comments saying, I own an Xbox, and I'm like, ha, I know Adam's burner accounts when I see them, and that is like not going to win me over in the comments. So this is the
at the same time, I do, whenever I interact with gamers, like most of them are on PlayStation 5. I will say that. Like I meet more PlayStation 5 users than I do Xbox users, for sure.
Yeah. Well, you're going to become a third party publisher anyway soon, so it's all right. It's all good for us as it is. Yeah, like, by the way, I brought that in there as well, just to flag that, people aren't aware that Deck 9 and Square and don't know are separate entities, and they don't own the IPs. And we have to remind you every time on this podcast, because there are people that you might not believe it, as Adam just said there as well. It's like, is Dead by Day popular? There are some people who probably, for example, don't know who Michel Coe is, and are probably tweeting at him now saying, you made a horrible job with double exposure, despite the fact that the man never directed the game. That's like the conversations we have to like bring here to kind of explain this as well. No, please don't do that crossover. That crossover makes zero sense, if anything. If anything, and here's a suggestion, this is why I should be working at one of these studios or publishers, maybe you should be licensing over Max Caulfield for a Lost Records tape. Maybe. Dream crossover.
That would be a killer. She comes out of the abyss, and then she just says like "Shaka Bra."
I'm gonna kick her back in the abyss then at that point. Like, get back in there. Like, go back in there. Yes, I just wanted to bring that up in there for what it is. Adam, to sign off this episode as well quickly, and I should be a comment of the day as well, but last thing here, I just want to bring it up because I adore this, and it's actually where Square Enix is doing things very much right. As you can see here, on the 28th, I tweeted saying, not Life is Strange, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth turned 1 year old. So obviously, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out on a leap year last year, so it came out on the 29th of February, so it's now stuck with a non-official anniversary date. But 1 year ago, this is one of the best games I have played in the last decade. I would argue that to the hill and back. I love Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And I was talking to someone off podcast as it is, and we were talking about how different Square Enix Japan deals with stuff in their IP compared to how Square Europe is dealing with Life is Strange, and it's night and day difference. Why can't Square Japan just run Life is Strange properly? Like, give them the keys. I want to see Max Caulfield in Japan, in Tokyo, doing something, causing mayhem, carnage, whatever else it is, and give me a solid IP. That game's great, man. Have you played Final Fantasy VII?
Like the remakes?
Yeah.
Do I own a PlayStation 5?
We got you there.
I've played the originals when they came out.
But why? See, this is the problem with having an Xbox.
How is that the problem?
No
It's the original.
You just sat there with your Avowed map in the corner of your room, like, I wish I
I
could
told
play
you I didn't get
Rebirth.
the map. Also, man, can I rescind my love for Avowed? Because I got pretty tired of it pretty quickly.
Whoa.
I don't think it's a good RPG. I think it's a good
Oh.
game. I think the combat is great. I think the parkour elements are pretty cool. But as an RPG, I don't like. I think I told you this. Like, I don't see myself affecting the world like in Mass Effect or even in Final Fantasy, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't see myself affecting anything with any choice that I make. So it's just kind of like, as a role playing game, I don't feel like I have any role that I'm playing in this game. So, it's an okay game. I think it's a good Game Pass download, but you know,
Wow. And to
isn't
think Lost Records is about to get pushed away whilst you're playing this, you're like, "Ooh, I want to play this before Lost Records," and it's like you play Lost Records, and you're like, "That's a masterpiece."
yeah.
And then now you're playing Avowed, and it's like, "Ooh,
I am
expectation tempered."
disappointed in Avowed. I'm very
Mm.
disappointed. I'm seeing if wasn't there a rumor that the Final Fantasy remakes were coming to Xbox?
Well, they've been released on Steam, but
Yeah,
you probably
yeah. Like, I
break
saw
your
the
computer.
Steam. As of current information, Final Fantasy is not on. I understand that,
But it's
but yeah,
like they've released it on Steam, and the numbers are popping, and it's like, why don't you just release it on all platforms? Just put it on all platforms, man. It's like,
yeah. So according to True Achievements, according to new rumors, Square Enix is preparing to announce Final Fantasy 16 and the Final Fantasy 7 remakes coming to Xbox sometime this year. Huge grain of salt. Huge grain of salt on that one. But
yeah,
if they do come to Xbox, I will eventually play them.
you should play
Eventually.
them. They're amazing.
How long does it take to beat it? Like,
It's
how
worth it.
long?
Every
How
minute. No,
long?
it's worth it.
How
I think
long?
like I put in about 100 hours on
No,
Rebirth.
hell no. I'm not
No,
playing that.
dude.
No.
Honestly, dude, I wouldn't vouch for it. It's almost verging on a 10 out of 10
Oh,
masterpiece.
100 hours?
I wouldn't vouch for it if I thought 100 hours is too much for it. It's almost verging on a masterpiece, that game. If not, it is a masterpiece. I will 100% say I would vouch for it. If you weren't happy, I would pay for the money you put on it. That's how much
Oh,
I like think that this game is great. And like, but it's weird though. It's like, why are they doing exclusive deals with Sony for this game? Like,
yeah,
young
I
people
know.
who played Final Fantasy VII, for example, have grown up. They might have moved on to other platforms. I know people who are old and play Steam Deck and play PC and Xbox and stuff. It's like, why would you not release on all platforms where the people who like Final Fantasy VII are going to play it?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me.
So Final Fantasy VII Remake is 32 and a half hours. And Rebirth, let's see on that. Final Fantasy Rebirth is 47 and a half. So
Oh, it's
just
more than
shy
that.
of 100. Yeah.
You'll be playing a lot of the side projects. I think obviously 80 hours is like all the side stuff I was doing. I've not even completed it like fully. I got a very high percentage on it, but it is the
It's
it's
the
so good.
same reason that I have not played Persona 5. It's the same reason. When they say like it's a masterpiece, but it's 200 hours. I'm like, no,
Well,
absolutely not.
my boy Dan always says anything great, always says great things about Persona, and he's like, it's the it's up there. So it's like when he gives me a recommendation for like Yakuza, I became a
Yeah.
Yakuza convert, and when I say to you, you have to play Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, you need to set aside 50 hours aside from them because they are unbelievable games. Adam, they are unbelievable. I will
If
argue
they
this is
come to
where Square Enix.
Xbox, I will try it.
This is where Square Enix has delivered. If you love Final Fantasy VII the original, you will be like you. I know there's purists. I know people don't like the metaverse parts that they're doing with it.
Yeah.
Fine, but generally speaking, to create such a beloved game in the way that they've done it, you'll enjoy it. And I'm going to argue from the down to the music levels as well.
Well, yeah, I've
all
heard the music
elements.
from it. It's like it's
Yeah.
always fantastic. I think he made oh god, dude, like so many tracks. I think over 100 tracks, like 117 tracks for this game. Like that's insane to me.
Yeah.
No, I did hear the soundtrack, but yeah, oh my god, 100 hours.
Yeah.
Ugh,
I'm going to
no.
argue all the way to the end of the hill. So, Adam, should we go into our last piece of comment?
Yes.
Bit comment of the day. So this is the first comment of the day for the first part of the podcast. This is the hot take now, and it's the big one for the one that we've had so far. So this is from Wicked Dallin 8668. It's not Wicked with an E, but I'm going to say Wicked Dallin
Yeah. Wick the
8688.
line.
And here is the hot take. I'm beginning to think Zach Garris would have made Life is Strange Double Exposure better than Jonathan Stauder ever could. Looking back on his work with Life is Strange Before the Storm and Life is Strange True Colors, there's a night and day quality between those games and DE. Despite Zach's controversies that got him kicked out of Deck 9, I'm going to refrain that as well because I don't know if he was specifically kicked out of Deck 9. I can't confirm that. He left of his own accord. So just put that out there. That didn't mean he lacked proper talent for a Life is Strange game. If Zach were in charge of DE, maybe he'd include Chloe Price in the game for a Sacrifice Arcadia Bay path and Warren Graham for the Sacrifice Chloe path. Garrus may have known what the Life is Strange fan base well enough to appease them, better than anyone else could. If he returns to D9, I pray he can salvage whatever he can following DE. So before we start this as well, Deck 9 has refuted the allegations that were made in IGN's article from back in 2024. Zach Garris has refuted a lot of the allegations, if not all of them, in the article as well. So just to put these out of disclaimer, this obviously refers to a 2024 IGN article as well, which where they put about workplace allegations and stuff. Adam.
Yeah. How is this a hot take? How is this a hot take? You know? That's like saying like, oh, Philadelphia is the greatest city in the USA. That's not a hot take. The truth might hurt, but it's the truth. Like it's the absolute truth. Now, if you might tell me, oh, well, weren't the Eagles fans destroying Philadelphia when they won? That's semantics. Okay. That's semantics. Philadelphia gave us independence from the UK, dog. It's because of Philly that we don't have to drink tea. We drink our coffee, we drink our beer in the morning. That's all thanks to Philadelphia. So anyway,
how's that got you? Where are you at now in the world?
Listen, man. Man. I'm just saying that Philadelphia needs to give us independence from another certain tyranny. So Philly, wake up, because we got some work to do here. Same with you, Boston. Boston Tea Party. Let's go, baby. Philly and Boston doing the ultimate collab here with tyranny. But you know. Anyways, back to this comment. Yeah, not a hot take. Not a hot take at all. Like again, just like Philadelphia being the greatest U.S. city ever to exist. Sorry, New York. Yeah, no, this is the truth. Like absolutely the truth. Because this person brings up a great point that there is stark differences between True Colors and Before the Storm versus Double Exposure. Like in terms of story flow. In terms of the character developments, there is stark differences. We've even talked with like a few people that have noticed differences within the Deck 9 teams. Like I don't want to say anything, but yeah, that there is definitely a difference of vibe in terms of the different direction. Yeah, no, it's 100% true. Like I 100% agree with this.
Yeah, like. Look, I'm going to say this again repeatedly because we've done this topic quite a few times and different conversations, right? I have no stock value in Zach Garris, right? I have no stock value in the man. I don't know anything about it. I've never spoken to the man, right?
Yeah.
However, as well, I was always skeptical about certain parts of the IGN article, right? Because the main issue is the Nazi imagery, right? That's the biggest concern I have with it, among many other things, right? Whatever your workplace politics are, you deal with them, right? That's your internal matter. That's your issues, your debates as well. Because in itself as well, and I've said this before, I've worked 10 years in journalism. I could tell you horror stories about stuff I've seen in the newsroom, if not even more egregious than the stuff that you've seen in that article. We've all been in workplaces and it's horrific at times as well.
Yeah.
That is what modern industries do now as well, especially the creative ones as well, and creative arts. Adam, you once said as well that he was towing a line very much on a lot of things. I believe he was towing a line on a lot of those stuff that he was saying. He was very much walking a very tightrope on what he was saying, but he was putting his foot down on many different things, right? So in itself with Garris will never walk back into Deck 9, in my opinion now.
Sure.
It says that if he ever returned, because at this point, his reputation has been slammed from many different playing fields, and Deck 9 tried to get him back at one point and didn't. That was their failure not to bring him back in the middle of this project. I've seen leaks and stuff suggesting other like rumors and stuff people posted who are former alleged Deck 9 employees and stuff saying that Zach Garris had no idea what's going on in this project. I completely refute that as well, because again, I do question some of these people who are speaking as well, because I do have more kind of like my eyebrow raise at who you are as a person, because I don't know much about you, and I've never heard that many great things about you as a person. But with Garrus, for example, and I will say this one more time, again, no stock value, I have never spoken to a single person that has said a single bad thing about Zach Garrus. And until someone says it differently, then I'll support what's being said in the article. But not a single person I've spoken to off camera has said a single bad thing about this person. I've heard certain people speak waxed lyrical about him, of who he is as a creative, as a visionary. Do I think he's Michel Coe? No, Michel Coe is his own little entity as a person as well. He's like the David Lynch of Life is Strange, very fitting as it is. But he has his own style. He has his own creative input. He has his own flair and things. Zach Garrus is that different thing. Yes, it would be night and day difference if Zach Garrus was in the development team of this game compared to what you got now. I can comfortably say that myself. Feelings-wise, projection-wise, I think it would have been seen, because Zach Garrus was no different from working at Telltale when the Expanse was being made, and it shows night and day difference when the project was being made on that, for example. It's not a hot take in that sense as well.
No.
And I think he would have pushed back on a lot of things, personally speaking, just because of his character and who he was. And I think you might have got the Life is Strange double exposure game that you wanted. It might not have been the Michel Coe Don't Nod vision that you wanted, but I think it would have been a respectable entry, i.e. like True Colors, for example, because True Colors is still the highest dollar highest dollar earning entry in the series at launch. It came out, it did successfully well, relatively successfully well on the budget it was made on, and it won a lot of people over. It was a steady game, even to the point where we were like, it plays it safe. It's very similar to Life is Strange 1. We still enjoyed it. We had a lot of great time of it. I enjoyed doing all those interviews that I did with the actors. I thought there was some really good elements within True Colors. I will play that game this year. It's my plan to play again, because I think it's going to age really well now, if not as already a good game as it is. I still think that the project would have been very different. Yeah?
Yeah.
And to wrap up as well, one last thing. I'm going to point this out because I need to always point this out in the podcast. And I'm going to repeat it and scream it until the end of my time, whilst we can still do this podcast.
That Falcon's my brother.
Because the IGN article.
Yes.
And I will say it one more time as it is. Garrus went on to claim that the narrative team on True Colors was quote-unquote initially characterized by torpor rather than toxicity, end quote, due to a quote-unquote a small portion of the group not collaborating well, end quote. He said, and I quote, "In all of my career, I have never worked with writers who were as creatively inflexible and antagonistic towards different, or less inclined to listen or compromise as a select few of this group," end quote. Garrus claims that the work on True Colors prior to his presence on the team was quote unquote so poor the game was under real threat of cancellation when I returned, end quote. And at a certain point he chose to reduce the quote unquote influence, end quote, of certain members. He claims that as a result, quote, their conduct became unprofessional, more antagonistic, and accusatory towards me of the toxicity that, from the perspective of many people in that studio, was in actually a result of their behavior, end quote. That is no different from what I've heard in certain places, yes? That is no different from what I've heard in different places. I will scream it again and again, because what I've seen many times on Reddit threads, on forums, comments, you might want to call me out in the comments, that's fine. You have every option to do that as well, is that people seem to hold much more value in other people's claims, i.e. Littleton, Bilal, anyone else who's mentioned the article, and don't seem to want to read his comments. Because I bet you 100% if you scrape over those comments in his statement, it's very revealing of what's going on there as well, on top of that. Is he right on everything? No. Is any creative director right on everything? No. But also as well, he came back at the studio when it's in that state and put the game out as it is. And look at what True Colors turned out to eventually be. It was a very solid entry. It scored very high. Critical reception was very good. These are things that are happening with it. So when I said earlier in the podcast, and it's kind of preempted this, that Deck 9 needs a period of soul searching. It needs a period of soul searching because it doesn't have a Zach Garrus anymore. It doesn't have a Chris Floyd anymore. Its other co-director, Webb Pickersgill, is out on performance direction now. It has Frost there, but Frost is not a Life is Strange guy. It has Zimmerman, who's worked on Life is Strange, who I think should be helming the series. Soul searching. Get your creative team in order as well, because the writing team as well has been pedestrian level of writing on Life is Strange since before the storm. It needs to drastically improve, if anything. Compared to Lost Records, go and see the difference of night and day writing. Jean-Luc and Michel will never, I will never ever sit there. If they did bad, then I'd be like, oh wow. I'm like, wow, but they don't. They just deliver
Yeah.
good writing, good games, good characters. Get your shit in order. That's what I'm going to say
Yeah.
with it. Because I agree with the comment as well. It might be a hot take for other people, and that comment came on late as well. Thank you for that comment as well. It'll
Yeah.
come on late, but people didn't notice it. But that's a very interesting comment to make because other people are now starting to see that as well. I've seen it pop up in different places and forums. People like, would it be different if Zach Garris was there? Again, no stock value in him. If you come in the
Yeah.
comments and say, well, why are you doing this? I have no stock value in Zach Garris, but I will say again, I've spoken to a lot of people in my life. Not a single person has said anything damning about him, which again makes me sit there thinking like, until someone says it, then that. Did he do a different experience with some people? Maybe. I can't vouch for that. However, how did they speak to him? How did they treat him, for example? These are all things that you have to think about. So, if anything, should we wrap up here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. So I hope you enjoyed the first part. As I said, guys, stay tuned. The second part will be coming. We've just felt it was quite fitting to kind of split these into two parts. It's not going to be a completely common occurrence, but it's just more effective for scheduling at the moment. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. Let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know what you think about Lost Records, etc. There's no spoiler warning on that. You can comment whatever you want. I'm not filtering comments as well, so do go in there at your own risk as it is. But let us know your thoughts and the feelings about that Lost Records graphic, Life is Strange, any of the topics. Let us know in the comments, and we'll always look forward to reading what your thoughts are. If anything, that's the end of the show, guys. Stay tuned for the second part. If you are new here and you like the video, even if you didn't like the video, you should subscribe, turn on notifications, like this video. If you dislike this video, I'm gonna what else happens in Life is Strange? I'm gonna feed you as much water as Lisa gets and then perishes. That's what's gonna happen to you. You will perish. You'll be fed.
You're gonna waterboard our viewers.
Well, it depends. If you don't see, I love the members. I love the people who support the show and subscribe and turn notifications, like the video, and share with their friends. The people who don't, you will be waterboarded, and then you'll be thrown down the abyss. That's what's going to happen. So, warning to you. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, the podcast is also available on all podcast services. Spotify with a video version. Hey, don't make me do it to you. The kind of like judgment you're passing to me at the minute. You're going to get thrown down the abyss next.
With the way America's going, I would be more than happy.
You will become the abyss anyways. That's where the abyss is going to put itself. Yes, check out the podcast. It's on podcast services. Please rate us and subscribe. It helps support the podcast. It boosts our visibility. Stay tuned. StrangeCast will be back later this month as well with a second episode, and obviously I think we'll be doing some stuff for the anniversary as well of the podcast. So yeah, do stay tuned. We'll be marching up to 100 episodes, and obviously, as I said, stay tuned. Second part comes out on Wednesday, and then the Lost Records Journal will be back a week later. Until next time, guys. See you later. Bye.
Later.
Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Brown.